So today on Online for Authors, I'm chatting with Dr. James R Gregory, author of Killer App. Welcome, James.
Thank you, Terry. It's great to be with you.
It's wonderful to have you. Before we really dive in, can you give my audience just an idea of what they're going to find when they open up the cover of Killer App?
Well, artificial intelligence is such a topic of conversation, and there's so much information out there. And unless you're a billionaire investing in these companies, it's very hard to understand how it all works. Well, Killer App is all about the introduction of artificial intelligence to somebody who really does not know it really well, but wants to use artificial intelligence to improve their lives, to improve their ability at work and to be able to write better. And poor Bryce Bogle, who works for a family company, and he brings this on, and he experiences everything that's bad about artificial intelligence, and yet it shows that it's a tool. It's simply a tool. It's not out to get you or to ruin your life, although at times he's not so sure.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. What made you decide Techno-Thriller and AI? Like, what made you say, oh, this is definitely the topic I'm going for?
Well, I've been around for a few years, and throughout my career, I have experienced all these different types of technology that changed my field. For example, when I started in advertising, I was a graphic designer, and I used to be really good with magic markers and T-squares and triangles, and those things are not even understood anymore. If somebody sees a T-square, they don't know what it's for. So I've experienced many changes in my career about technology. And what I've learned over these many decades is that it's really wise to embrace technology as it's happening, to understand it and reach out and treat it as a tool rather than as something that's trying to disrupt your life. And it's been very interesting. It actually helped me to understand, because I took a 6-week course with MIT to understand artificial intelligence before I really started to write this. And it's helped me a lot. It helped me to understand what AI is all about and how it can be applied and how to use it and all the dangers that are accompanying it. So it's fun.
Yeah, no, I think that's wonderful. I know that, especially as authors, there are a lot of authors who are really terrified of AI, and they believe that AI is going to completely stop them from doing their craft anymore. And there's a lot of that. And then there are other people who use it almost exclusively. And I think that there's a middle ground that we all need to find, right?
You're absolutely right. Those are being two extremes.
Right. Being terrified of it, being afraid of it and being angry at it isn't going to make it go away. It's here. And so now you need to figure out how you're going to use it to your benefit, and to believe that it cures and solves everything. And now you no longer have to do anything, and you can just let ChatGPT do your articles or whatever, also is not the answer. There's something in the middle. I love that. One of the things I really loved about the book is that you gave the app a name. It stood for Artificial Intelligence Made Easy, right? But she became Amy.
Right.
And a she.
Yes.
And very much a character and like a personality. And I think that gave it the flavor that you were wanting, where you feel like, oh, what was the movie? Was it like 2020? I mean, it was
2001: A Space.
Yes. Where all of a sudden AI takes over and won't let them breathe in the spaceship. It had that kind of feel to it.
Yes, it's very much like that, in fact. And I just watched a rerun of that recently and said, oh my God, that's the parallel to my book is so close. There was also another movie, Ex Machina, which is precisely reaches out in these different points. The Ex Machina was where a gentleman comes in and is testing various robots, what they call a Turing test, to see how closely the robot matches human interactions. And it's fascinating, and that movie absolutely parallels the book.
Right, and I think it touches on people's fear.
Oh,
right. I mean, that's what it does, because you have this fear, like, what if AI becomes sentient and can now do things on its own and you can't unplug them.
Right.
Like you go to unplug them and they kill you instead, or that kind of thing, and there's this fear that has been out there for a long time, because 2001 Space Odyssey, that's been out a long time.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Right? I mean, we're now at 2025 in real time. So this movie's been out a long time, long before AI was something that was actually working in our lives. And people have had a fear of this idea.
Man versus machine is a perpetual issue that's going to be out there and growing as a topic of conversation and a topic of concern. I think it's fascinating myself. I mean, for writers, this should be a lot of fun, a lot of stuff that we can work on for a long time.
I think so too. Back to giving Amy a name and a personality, and a female, like she's a person instead. I think that adds to the scariness.
Yes, Bryce Bogle, the main character, the protagonist, really has options in here. When he first meets Amy, he has the option of naming her. He has the option of deciding whether it's going to be a male voice or a female voice. And he chose somebody roughly in his age, and that became threatening. All of a sudden she seems to be interested in him on a romantic level versus, and none of that is real, but it's in his mind that he's struggling with this, and it's a fascinating thing. And all she's doing is gathering information. And she's learning about him and learning, and then learning about the company that he works for, and learning about the issues that the company is wrestling with. And suddenly because she's so popular with her writing skills have improved his ability so much that she's in demand all over. She's running the show. And it's a fascinating thing, but all these different concerns that they have, about these, privacy, job displacement, biases, and all these different things are addressed in this single book.
Absolutely. One of the things that you did that I found fascinating is you went to ChatGPT and you asked ChatGPT to tell you what are the pros and the cons.
Yes.
Of having AI, and ChatGPT gave you that. You used some of it in your book, but then you chose to take that whole article and put it at the end of the book so that we could go through and look at that. I found that to be like a genius idea, because here you're saying, here are the goods and the bads. This is what came up with an AI bot. And by the way, it actually did come up with an AI bot.
Yes, absolutely. And I was so pleased because I did wait till the end before I did that search. And I was so pleased that I kind of nailed it. I said, these are the issues, and did I address them? And I had.
Right.
So it's neat.
Right. And I think when we realize that AI is a tool.
Yes.
And that it can save us time, and it can help us do the things that we're better at and not have to focus on the things that we're not as good at. Right. I've personally have found that, like, I take my podcasts now and I run it through an AI and have it give me a blog post based on what you and I talked about, so that I can put that blog post out there. I used to do that myself. I would listen to the whole thing. I would take notes. I would create a blog post. That takes a long time. I can get it done in 30 seconds with AI.
For people who don't realize what it can do,
Right.
There's a very good example. I mean,
right.
And
for people who are concerned and who say things like, well, that's like cheating somehow. I feel like you and I created this event. This is my podcast, and I created this. And now I've just asked someone, and this time the someone was an AI as opposed to a freelancer. People hire freelancers all the time to listen to the podcast and come up with a blog. It's the same thing, except I don't have to hire a person. I'm hiring, Chat GTP or whatever I use, right? And then it comes up, it uses my words, your words that we did on this show, and it just sums up, hey, here are some of the things you're going to find in this podcast.
Absolutely. But the key things that you're saying is it saved you time.
Yep.
It saved money.
Yep.
And it gives you a better product, or at least an equal product to what you're used to doing.
And then I think the other thing people need to recognize is you can't just put it out there. I never take anything that I get from an AI and just shove it out there, because inevitably I find mistakes.
Yes.
I find things that maybe weren't said or were said, but that's not what was meant. And AI took it to mean something else, and I had to change it, or even things like just misspelled author names.
Right.
Where you have to go in and say, that's not the way they spell that.
And that, again, that was addressed in the book through a miscommunication that Amy didn't quite understand what the intent was of something she read, and could have set off a war.
Right. Absolutely. And I think that's interesting. I know recently there was an article, it was this summer, maybe in the spring, and it was about like 20 books that you should read this summer. And it went out, it ended up going out on like maybe an AP server, and it went out to lots of different, and it turns out that it was written by a bot, and that none of the books existed and none of the authors were real.
Oh my God.
So it just made up titles and put made up people who wrote them.
Oh,
and
that's
there wasn't one book, and there wasn't one author that was real.
That is fascinating. Wow.
And so you do have to be very careful. That I know that there was another one where people were citing research, and it turns out the research wasn't real. There wasn't, and that paper didn't exist. And they were citing like, this is why we're doing XYZ. And it was like, except it's not there. No one did that study,
Wow.
And so you do have to be careful. This AI should not erase you and me doing our research, making sure that what we're putting out there is real or whatever.
I agree totally. It requires human oversight at this stage. It might change, it might be totally reliable in the future. But right now there are just too many holes, and you need the human oversight and vision for what you're trying to accomplish.
Absolutely. So in your book, is there any place where real AI and then killer app fiction are different? Like, are there things that you have happening in killer app that just cannot happen with AI right now?
Well, not that I can think of. There is the scene at the very end where
and let's not give away too much.
No, she's transported to another location.
Okay.
And right now, I don't know that you can do that the way it happened in
the book. Okay. Yeah. All right. I know in the book at one point he gets very concerned because he feels like she's invaded his privacy, and is now in the midst of not just his work things, but in his personal life things.
Yeah.
Reading his emails, paying attention to his texts, all of those kinds of things. How real is that in terms of AI?
Well, I think to someone who is naive, it could probably happen. But I think that there are, AI is improving every week. I mean, there's something new, and it's
Absolutely
getting more and more solid in terms of the ability to use it and the ability to understand it and use it as a partner. So I think that I think as time goes on, the chances of that happening are much smaller. But right now, for somebody who doesn't know and who is naive about it, you can fall into a lot of traps.
Right.
And that's what I'm playing on here is to a great degree, the fear about artificial intelligence. And in the end, my hope is that this helps them overcome their concerns.
Right.
But maybe not.
Maybe not. Well, and I think the thing is that people who are concerned, it's going to take a lot to get them to set those concerns aside. Maybe doing something like taking a class on AI to help you understand what it is and what it isn't, what it can do, what it can't do,
right,
how you should use it, how you shouldn't use it.
Right.
Because
there are a good many classes out there for that. You don't need to know how it was built originally to be able to use it today.
Right. And to understand like best uses,
Absolutely.
and what could be considered inappropriate uses for it. Like I personally don't like books that are written entirely by AI when someone goes in and as me, an author, and I would say, well, write me a book that has these 3 plot lines in it.
Right.
And then put my name on it. I think that's a problem.
I think that is a major problem that is growing. And I think that there should be parameters around that. People should be called out if they're using it as a crutch that way. Although, that's a pretty bold statement. Maybe there are ways to use it and be acceptable as a full-blown AI written text.
I think maybe if that's what you're getting. I don't know. And I think part of the thing that people are a little concerned about, especially in the writing world, is that a lot of people's books, one of mine included, was put into the system and used to train AI, and we were unaware that our books were being used that way.
Yeah, that's not good.
Right. And so there are some issues that you have to look at. There are a good number of authors. And like I said, one of my three novels was used to train ChatGTP.
Oof.
So, there's now a lawsuit and all the things going on and people are like up in arms, and I get it. It's upsetting. And then because of that, then authors say, and nobody should be allowed to write a book by just saying that, because essentially ChatGTP and others are just using my words and your words and all these other authors' words and rearranging them.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah. If you work hard on developing a phrase or a concept, and it's just taken away, that is the essence of plagiarism. It's just not right.
Right. And so I think there's just a lot of things out there that we're at a kind of a changing point with AI. AI not too long ago really didn't exist in terms of generative AI. We had a lot of AI type things out there that would help with things like, grammar control and those kinds of things. But in terms of actual generative AI, for the you and me's of the world, it's only been recently out here.
Right. And there's more of it daily. I mean,
yes.
It's happening so fast that you really need to pay attention to it, especially if you're in the business of writing or creating. You need to keep up with it.
Absolutely. So we've talked about your personal views of AI. Do you see yourself using AI more in the future, less in the future, about the same as what you are now?
Well, it's becoming ubiquitous. It's everywhere. It's not just Siri and Alexa anymore,
right?
Where they were imitating human voices and they're getting better and more believable and more you can handle them better.
It used to be that the voices sounded like this and it was horrible, and now you can get not generative, but an AI to do an audiobook, and though it's not as good as someone who knows what they're doing it, it's not terrible.
Right.
Like you can listen to it now without cringing the whole way through.
It's not only not terrible, it's pretty good.
It's pretty good.
And getting better. Another tool that's out there that I find indispensable is Perplexity. Are you aware of?
I don't know that one. Tell me about it.
Well, it's a simple app. It's perplexity.com, and it when you type that in, it says ask me anything. And you can ask, as a writer, it's just a fantastic tool because you'll be writing about some aspect of what you're doing, and you just come to a point where you really need the answer before you move on.
Like can this have happened in 1943?
Exactly.
Right.
Or even more complex.
Right.
But that's the idea. And perplexity.com is it will put Google out of business. Because it gets to the essence of what you're after, rather than taking you from your idea to a website that other people are bidding on your eyes to go to that site. This is the answer, and it's just phenomenal.
Right. And then, of course, that immediately makes you wonder about bias. Like, is it the answer or is it an answer? Right.
It'll give you several answers and the footnotes for those answers.
Oh, I like that.
So you can decide which one is more believable to you or where to go for additional information. And it's not just someone advertising that spot.
Right.
It is all of those things. Although I love advertising.
Yeah. As an advertiser, you would kind of want that, right? Yeah. No, but I get what you're saying. Yeah, because it's true. The top Google searches are often paid.
Right.
Right. And so you have to make sure that you're looking for the right thing. It's interesting. My kids have called me Google Mom for the last 20 years because whenever I don't know something, I Google it. That's just what I do. And so maybe soon I'll be known as Perplexity Mom. That's I love that. What do you have next, James? What's coming up? I know that you're an author of Zephyr's War. You've written Killer App. Have you written any others besides those two?
Yes, we have Ghost Town that is soon to be available for pre-orders. Ghost Town, I know you like to write historic novels.
Yes, I do.
Ghost Town is my first historic novel based on the Johnstown flood in Johnstown, Pennsylvania, back in 1889. And it shows the conflict between the Industrial Revolution and and these industrialists who were so wealthy and arrogant and created a terrible situation where this dam had the potential to wipe out not only their competitors, but an entire town. And we're willing to
do so. Yeah.
So
fantastic.
That will be out shortly. And I've got another one in the works behind that called Undercurrent.
Okay.
Undercurrents, it's going to be a fascinating book. It's about the people who are crossing the border, what happens to them when they become disgruntled. And it's so topical right now.
Right.
It's just crazy. But
and with Undercurrent, is that also fiction or is that nonfiction?
Total fiction.
Total fiction. Okay. All right. And where are you in Undercurrent? When do you hope that one will be out?
Oh, I've got a first draft of it.
Fantastic.
My editor said we're going to do it over.
Yeah, well,
Because
you
I've
gotta
got
love an editor.
too many things mixed in, and I've got to calm it down and streamline it and make the story a little more cohesive.
Super.
So I think that's at least a year away.
Okay. All right. Wonderful. Well, I'm glad to know that you're continuing to write because the story was fantastic. So, hey guys, if you want to continue this conversation, head on over to Novels and Latte Book Club on Facebook. There you're going to have a chance to win a digital copy of Killer App. Just tell me something you liked or learned about from this podcast, and you will be in the drawing. So, James, if someone wanted to get in touch with you about this book, about upcoming books, about your thoughts on AI or anything else, how do they do that?
Well, my website is jamesrgregory-books.com. So James R is important, Gregory-books.com. And I would love to interact with your viewers. I would love to know what they think of the book.
Fantastic. And guys, I'll have everything in the show notes. So just look below in the notes. You'll have every way that you can get up with James. And James, I want to thank you so much for being with me today.
Terry, thank you so much. It's been a lot of fun.
Thank you for listening to Online for Authors, where I, Terry M. Brown, author of character-driven fiction and host of the podcast, introduce readers to characters they'd love to invite to lunch. Tune in next Tuesday for another podcast episode.